Do you recognize this famous bird? Oh, sorry. Maybe these colors will help you to recognize the most famous bird of the 21st century more easily. Anyway, let's allow the little bird to fly. In fact, birds are not only famous today, but they were also very important in the past. For many centuries, humans have tried to fly just like the birds with dreams of one day taking to the skies as well. Let's go to 17th century Istanbul. In order to fly, humans needed wings. With wings it should be possible to gain the same supremacy in the air as birds and insects. So, humans tried over and over again to make their stretched out arms become wings. Hi there. I am from the 21st century. I think you are an aviator, and if you jump, you can hurt yourself and others. I am just concerned for your safety. Oh, sorry, safety management system was not active in the 17th century, but I think you are familiar with the concept of system because of your pocket watch. The system of gears and springs is at the heart of any mechanical watch. If one of the gears is missing, your watch will not work. To start with SMS, find out what components and elements you already have in place and identify the elements that are missing. This is called a gap analysis and is an excellent way to identify the areas you may need to address. But gears, springs and screws are only part of the system. There are also hands, dials and many other parts. Just like the many parts in your watch, there are many parts that make up the SMS framework. These are 1. Commitment, 2. Accountabilities, 3. Key personnel, 4. Emergency plan, 5. Documentation, 6. Hazard identification, 7. Risk assessment, 8. Performance monitoring, 9. Management of change, 10. Continuous improvement, 11. Training, 12. Communication. Is everything clear now? This brief summary of the SMS implementation is probably not enough. Okay, then I will try to explain with different examples. Years later, with the contribution of your flight trials, large aircraft were produced and aviation became the safest mode of transport on the planet. Nowadays we implement safety management system on aircraft, so I think you as a flying human should also consider using it. Let's look at the example of another human being, a beautiful bouncing baby. Why am I talking to you about babies? Because the concept of safety reminds me of the relationship of a mother and a baby. The safest place in the world is in a mother's arms. Anyway, I will now try to explain SMS to you using the example of a baby and aircraft. This is a beautiful baby that is looking to be adopted by a new family. A new individual will join the family. For most people, bringing up a child is one of the most beautiful and joyful experiences in life. The adoption process itself is not difficult, but after detailed investigation, adopters are required to sign an adoption agreement stating that they understand the commitment that is involved in adopting a child and that they agree to provide lifelong responsible care. Adopting a child is a lifelong commitment to raising a child no matter the child's needs. When we look at the world of aviation, to reflect the organization's commitment to safety, there should be a safety policy in place that includes a commitment signed by an accountable executive. Who is responsible for the safety of a baby? A mother? A father? A babysitter? Of course, each adult in the household is responsible for the baby's safety. How about in the world of aviation? Who is responsible for the safety of an aircraft? Specific safety responsibilities from individual members of management should be defined, and their role in relation to the SMS should reflect how they can contribute towards a positive safety culture. Who spends most of time with the baby? The babysitter? The mother? The father? The babysitter is a key person in the baby's life and is responsible to the mother and father for the baby's safety. In aviation, the organization should appoint a safety manager who is responsible for the implementation and maintenance of an effective safety management system. The safety manager advises the accountable executive and line managers on safety management matters, and is responsible for coordinating and communicating safety issues within the organization as well as with external members of the aviation community. Additionally, there are two important safety groups in the organization. 1. The Safety Review Board, SRB, is strategic and deals with high-level issues related to policies, resource allocation and organizational performance monitoring. It is chaired by accountable executives and composed of senior managers. 2. The Safety Action Group, SAG, is more operationally focused. SAGs are normally composed of managers and frontline personnel and are chaired by a designated manager. SAGs are tactical entities that deal with specific implementation issues following the direction of the SRB. How can fast action be taken in case of an emergency situation? An emergency is a sudden, unplanned situation or event requiring immediate action. Having a very sick or severely injured baby is a parent's worst nightmare. If it happens to your baby, would you know the best way to go about getting treatment? The best time to prepare for an emergency is before one happens. Write each phone number clearly in large print so it will be easy for everyone to read at home. In aviation, this process is very similar. Coordination of emergency response planning refers to planning for activities that take place within a limited period of time during an unplanned aviation operational emergency situation. An emergency response plan, ERP, is an integral component of an organization's safety process to address aviation-related emergencies, crises or events. How can the babysitter know lots of things about the baby's safety? Caring for young children is not easy. When the parents leave, the babysitter is responsible for keeping the child safe, fed and entertained. If there has been no prior formal training or education, how can these babysitting skills be improved? By reading books on this subject, through online research and reading articles on the internet. In aviation, we can call this resource of information, documentation. The SMS documentation should include a top-level SMS manual, which describes SMS policies, processes and procedures to facilitate the organization's internal administration, communication and maintenance of the SMS. It should help personnel understand how the organization's SMS functions and how the safety policy and objectives will be met. Furthermore, all SMS records should be safely stored on a computer and paper copies in files. How do parents protect babies from hazards? A hazard is anything with the potential to cause harm. If you have knowledge about the potential hazards, you can take the necessary precautionary measures. So let's identify hazards for the baby. Sharp objects, for instance a spiky cactus plant, and electrical sockets are just a few of the dangers to babies. How about in aviation? A hazard is anything which may cause harm to people, or damage to aircraft, equipment or structures. Any aviation safety-related hazard identified and controlled is beneficial for the safety of aviation. Examples of aviation hazards may be bad weather, flocks of birds near an airport. How do parents reduce the risks? What's the difference between hazard and risk? I have mentioned hazards before. A hazard is anything that could harm, damage or injury. A cactus plant is a hazard. To reduce the risk, we must first know what that risk is. Risk is caused by a hazard and is usually defined in terms of the likelihood of the harm occurring and severity if it does. So, it is a risk to touch a cactus. Ouch! Okay, now we understand the difference between a hazard and risk. If this cactus is near the baby's toys, the likelihood of injury will be assessed as possible and cactus in the play area being assessed as high risk. If we take this cactus and put it high up on a cupboard where the baby cannot reach it, the risk of harm to the baby is improbable. As a result, these two risk levels are not the same and we have reduced the risk level. In aviation, Most of organizations use a table to assess the risk level. This is a simple mechanism to increase visibility of risks and assist management in their decision-making. Using this matrix, risks can be categorized according to an assessment of their potential severity and probability. In this matrix, increases in severity from right to left, increases in probability from bottom to top. Red area represents an unacceptable risk level, yellow area represents risk level to be reviewed, and green area represents an acceptable risk level. Snow is a hazard. Without de-icing, takeoff and crashing are risks. So, the risk levels of these two situations are not the same. Why should a babysitter keep track of a baby's development? Tracking your child's growth, you can learn about topics such as developmental disabilities, immunization recommendations, and screening. Let's look at the aviation sector. Safety Performance Indicators, SPIs, and Safety Performance Targets, SPTs, are needed to monitor the achievement of safety objectives. Safety performance targets are established by management agreeing on safety objectives. The organization then identifies appropriate safety performance indicators that will show improvement of safety performance towards the agreed safety objectives. The SPIs will be measured using existing data sources, but may also require the collection of additional data. The organization then starts gathering, analyzing, and presenting the SPIs. In this chart, some indicators are not meeting their safety objectives. When this happens, causes are assessed with related managers and corrective actions are taken. At this point, the organization can identify reasonable and achievable SPTs for each SPI. Furthermore, internal audits are performed to assess the effectiveness of the SMS, and areas for potential improvement can be identified. So what should parents do when their fantastic babysitter leaves their job? How critical is this change? It is really critical. Leaving a child in the hands of a babysitter while you go off to work or go out for the evening can be daunting, especially with a new babysitter. While finding a babysitter you trust is not a simple feat, rest assured there are caring, loving, and reliable babysitters out there. So, if you have time, you can assess the safety risks and prepare detailed interview questions about the person's background, experience, training and safety, different scenarios, discipline, expectations, newborn care. After any interview, be sure to follow up by contacting the babysitter's list of references. In aviation, changes that affect your organization can introduce many potential risks to the operation. Formal change management helps to identify, assess, and control change-based risks. When a key personnel change is proposed, start by assessing its overall risk. Assess the safety risks as you would your business risks before making an important decision. I have mentioned only personnel change, but common changes in aviation include new aircraft type, new equipment, new contract, new systems, new operating procedures, new services being provided, new facility, new base, new destination, airport layout changes, and so on. How many years are the parents responsible for their child's safety? As a parent, you are responsible for your child's upbringing, safety, health, education, and property during all of their childhood years. This is a continuous process. The age of 18 is widely accepted as the start of adulthood. You cannot say you have finished all of your safety-related responsibilities in just 5 years. In aviation, the previous stages should give you an indication of what can be improved. Refining and enhancing your SMS does not stop. If you think you have done all you can and put it aside, just remember that continual improvement is fundamental to your SMS. Your implementation is successful when SMS becomes embedded in your day-to-day activity, works consistently, and is effective. This will not happen overnight, but with time you will see the system maturing and your confidence growing. Organizations should monitor and assess the effectiveness of its SMS processes to enable continuous improvement of the overall performance of the SMS. Nowadays there are many cliches flying around. Safety first, or safety is our first priority. It is impossible to eliminate all risks in life. You can wrap your child up in bubble wrap, but they may find it difficult to adapt to real life when they become an adult. In aviation, we may not want to operate even in the acceptable green risk zone, but if you do this, your company will not be able to survive for long. As production increases, the safety risks may also increase if the necessary resources or process enhancements are not available. An organization must define its production and safety objectives by balancing output with acceptable safety risks. Organizations maintain the appropriate balance between production and protection. Important note: the cost of an accident to an organization can be catastrophic. Not only could it be the loss of life, the loss of income, but it could destroy a small organization. By introducing a safety management system in an organization, it can mitigate those risks and conduct operations safely within your environment to have business continuity, and that is the ultimate goal of a business. Who should take baby safety training, if this was available? Everyone at home should take this training. In aviation, all staff require basic SMS training. A simple needs analysis is a useful tool for specialized training and qualifications. These may include, depending on the size of organization, the chief executive, senior management, safety systems manager, managers, safety-specific staff, operational staff, general staff, SMS administrators, contractors and third parties. Do you want to share your knowledge about safety? Of course. Everybody wants to share information of the safe growth of other children. Communication helps to spread knowledge and information among people. So, happy knowledge sharing. In aviation, the organization should communicate their SMS objectives and procedures to all appropriate personnel. Examples of organizational communication initiatives include SMS manual, bulletins, websites or emails. And the most important is safety reports. You can only control the risks associated with hazards and safety events you are aware of. A safety reporting system can help you identify underlying issues that have the potential to negatively affect aviation safety. Voluntary reporting systems may be confidential, requiring that any identifying information about the reporter is known only to gatekeepers in order to allow for follow-up action. Confidential incident reporting systems facilitate the disclosure of hazards leading to human error, without fear of retribution or embarrassment. By the way, safety reporting, hazard identification, risk management and personal safety responsibilities need to be the focus of training for all staff. Safety and security are two different concepts. In many countries, both are often confused. Safety focuses on the negative impact to the concerned system's performance caused by failures. There are two types of human failure: human error and violations. Human error is an unintentional action or decision. Errors can be classified into slips, lapses and mistakes according to how they occur. Violations are intentional failures, deliberately, willfully doing the wrong thing or omission. In aviation, as long as someone admitted to an error, non-punitive action should be taken against them, but willful violations and destructive actions are not tolerated. I will try to explain main distinctions with a baby example. If baby milk is left out at room temperature for approximately 12 hours and mistakenly given to the baby, your baby can get food poisoning. This incident can be put down to human error. If you inform your experienced babysitter of dangers of giving a baby some milk that has left out at room temperature for a long time, but then the babysitter still deliberately gives the milk to child by thinking no negative effect, this is violation. If someone noticed you were about to accidentally give slightly off milk to your child, you would surely like to be warned about it before it happened. Encouraging voluntary reporting increases overall safety. Let's look at security. If someone puts some harmful liquid in the baby's milk, we can easily say this is a malicious activity. It is aimed to harm the child or upset his parents with this action. Security-related issues are a set of measures and resources implemented to prevent malicious acts like mugging, burglary, robbery and terrorist activities. Have I made everything clear? I do not know whether he had applied fundamentals of SMS, but the man jumped.